Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Tiger Talk this month. I'm excited today. We're going to talk about our new CEO program. So we have special guests Shanda Walker and Beth Ritter here with us, and we'll come to them in just a minute and do some introductions. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about some updates and just kind of some overview of what's going on at the school district. The last month of school is a crazy time of year and a lot of things going on. Certainly this year, different than the last couple of years where we've had COVID and a lot of interruptions to what we can do with face-to-face things. We're back to a lot of normal end-of-the-year stuff this year. So a couple things I want to share from early childhood. First of all, I'm just going to walk through each of the buildings. Early childhood, we've got their placement letters came out as of May 1st. So people that registered for early childhood classes, they should have gotten that letter. We do have a small waiting list for both 3s preschool and the 4s voluntary pre-K. So those classes have filled up, and that went really well this spring. We've also starting something that we're bringing something back we haven't had in a couple of years. We're bringing back a summer program for early childhood programming. ESSER funds have made that possible for us to fund adding some summer programming in that level. So anyone who's interested in some summer programming, there'll be some flyers and such coming out. But if you want to know more about that, you can reach out to our early childhood office and talk to Tiffany about that. She'll share about the opportunities we have going on, kind of for all ages from birth through 5 years old, just before kindergarten time. A lot of fun opportunities this summer coming up with that. Parkside wanted to share, they had a lot of fun things this spring going on, a few that I want to touch base on. The first thing, they had a visitor this month, something new they haven't done before. They had line workers from MMU come with their bucket truck, and the kids got to go out, and just being 5 years old and getting to see the truck is fun, but they got to learn all about what the MMU guys do on their truck and with their equipment. So that was a fun thing this spring. Darcy also wanted to share with the community just some celebrations going on at the end of the year. First grade is doing field trips again this year. We haven't done field trips in a couple years either. So they're going to the YMCA, and kindergarten's going to Garvin Park this spring. Also, second grade from Southview is going to a field trip to Endaline Museum and Chautauqua, and they have class plays again this spring. Third grade is taking a field trip to the Lyon County Museum. They're walking down there. They're also going to the library to learn about the summer reading program. They have some great things that happen there. And third grade is also going to the zoo. Our third graders have never been on a field trip because of COVID. So you feel like they've been in school for 4 years now. It's something they would have experienced and just something new to them. So that'll be an exciting trip with those kids. And fourth grade is doing their middle school tours, getting ready for their transition to middle school, and they are hosting the fourth grade carnival. It's been a long-standing Marshall tradition, so that's back this year as well. Excited to have that one happening. At the middle school, some end-of-year things taking place. Our choir has had a really successful spring. They had a couple students, Janiyah Andrews and Kylan Duell. They were able to sing in the grade 7 and 8 Minnesota Honor Choir. So they tried out for that opportunity to do so. There were 580 kids that tried out across the state, and only 220 of those students made it, and 2 of our Marshall students were able to participate in that. So it was really a nice experience for those kids. Their choir teacher took them up there a couple weekends ago, and they got to spend some time doing that. Nice opportunity and honor for those students to do that. Also, we had 65 of our middle school students participated in the Science and Nature Conference that took place here at SMSU, and they got to learn all sorts about different various science topics. So it was a fun opportunity for our middle school kids. Talking about middle school, I want to recognize Miss Samantha Downing as well, or Samantha Downing Fisher. She was selected as the 2022 Teacher of the Year from the EA, the Education Association of Marshall. So Sam is a Marshall grad, and she's now one of our EL teachers at middle school, and she's very deserving of this honor. So congratulations to Sam. At our high school, for the 4th consecutive year, Marshall High School has been named a top Minnesota high school by U.S. News and World Report for the year of 2021. So that recognition comes after that year is completed. Our ranking placed us 75th out of 886 high schools in the state of Minnesota. So that's exciting for our high school to have that honor. Also thinking about high school and things that are kind of back that had disappeared with COVID. Prom has happened. We had that on April 30th. Prom and after prom looked like a traditional prom and after prom again. So we had all the traditional activities, the grand march, the dance, and the variety of after prom entertainment activities. We also were able to bring in Jet Skrine. He's an MHS graduate. He entertained the crowd with a magic show at the end, so the kids had a lot of fun with that. And it was a really great event for the kids. I want to recognize a couple prom advisors for that as well, Gretchen Stelter and Nicole Jans. They're the leaders of that. It's a big evening with a lot of moving parts, and they do a great job to put that together for our kids. And of course, with the prom too, I need to make sure I recognize our community partners with that. A lot of generous community donations that make that possible too, for the prizes and for the food and for everything that happens that night. So certainly something that we couldn't do without those partners. Maytech has graduation coming up. Our Maytech students have a ceremony at Maytech to honor them as at graduation time. That's scheduled for Friday, May 27th at 2 o'clock at the Maytech site. Anyone wishing to attend that ceremony. A couple other activities taking place. Our BPA, they always have very successful years. This year they competed at Nationals in Dallas. Our computer animation team had Logan Conway, Jordan Duscher, and Maddie Brockberg. And Gaymu Thaw, they placed in the top 10. And also Jasmine Mortland placed in the top 10 in medical coding. So a lot of success for that group. FFA also recently had their state convention. John Borboom, Mallory Evans, Braxton Seifert, and Mary Lanou, and they finished first overall in their program. So congratulations to our FFA team. Spring play, they performed 12 Angry Jurors this spring. That was early in May at the high school. They had a very engaging performance this spring for the audience, recognizing our biases, and that play really had people thinking deep about recognizing some of those pieces. So it was a very nice job done by our performers at the high school. And finally, the Tiger speech team, they completed virtually this year in the Nationals tournament that happened just recently as well. So congratulations to our speech kids and wrapping up that year. A lot of things finishing up. A couple of dates to share with the community before we get into our conversation about CEO. Honors Convo, that's an annual event. It takes place on May 24th on Tuesday morning at 8:15. This year we have special guest speaker Lois Quam. Lois is a 1979 graduate of Marshall High School who's been very successful, and she's coming back to talk at the Honors Convo, and then she's going to visit with different classes and have a special lunch with a group of our students as well. So looking forward to that event to honor our students that way. And June 3rd, of course, is our graduation. So that's Friday afternoon at 7 p.m. is annual graduation ceremony, again at Marshall High School in the gymnasium. So those that are interested, I hope to see you at those events. All right, let's talk about CEO. Before we get into that, Shanda and Beth, I'm going to have you introduce yourselves and kind of what your role is and why you're here with me to talk about this today. So Shanda, I'm going to let you go first as a new one. Shanda's been on the job for 2 weeks now?
Yeah, almost 3.
Almost 3 weeks,
yeah.
All right.
My name is Shanda Walker, like you mentioned, and I am the facilitator of the CEO program. I have previous experience working with the Introduction to Medical Careers course. I owned my own business for about 9 years, and I've done some work working for a nonprofit for the last 3 years. So I'm very excited to bring this program to Marshall and the other surrounding school districts. Mm-hmm. I did not grow up in Marshall, but I do live here now for the past 11 years, and we've made it our home, and we're very excited to stay here and continue to participate in the community.
Awesome. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
And Beth, just share.
Yep, so my name is Beth Ritter. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning for Marshall Public Schools. With the CEO program, I was lucky or fortunate enough to serve on the steering committee to really get the program going, as well as I sit on our CEO board, where we oversee the program and are excited to get it started this next school year.
Great. Well, I'm glad you guys are here so we can talk a little about this. So let's start with CEO. When I say CEO, I'm guessing our listeners think they know what CEO is like of a corporation, but we're talking about CEO class, so that's something different. So Shanda, you want to talk just a little bit about what is CEO?
Yeah, it can be a little confusing at times, but CEO actually stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. So yes, we would love it if every graduate from our program became a CEO of a company someday. Mm-hmm. But really what we're trying to do is help the students to learn how to make those connections. It is a class, so they get high school credit for it, which is nice for them. They're able to participate in a non-traditional course, but still get the traditional high school credit towards graduation, and really just kind of learn to think outside the box. Mm-hmm. is really the overall purpose of the class.
Yeah, great. And you talk about the class. So this class is unique in a number of ways. One of the ways, typically a high school student might take a class for a quarter or a semester, but this class takes the entire year.
Whole school year.
Whole school year.
Yes.
And some pretty cool things about that class. So talk a little bit about where they meet for class and how that might function for students in their schedule.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, it's non-traditional, which means we're going completely outside of the box. None of the classes are held actually in a traditional classroom mm-hmm. in the high school, either at Marshall School or any of the other districts that are participating. So we actually go out into the community and meet at different businesses. So there's a variety of investors and business sponsors, and Beth can talk more about that. That's been the board board's task over the last year is acquiring those. But these investors and sponsors have graciously offered to host these students. And so we get to go in early in the morning. This class is going to start a little after 7 in the morning. So they get to start before school. And then it'll run for about an hour and a half every day. And they're just going to be learning from really the experts in the business and getting their take on what it means to start a business, own a business, run a business, and kind of everything in between.
Yeah, well, great opportunity for our kids then to make those business connections as well.
Absolutely.
So, exciting. So that's why you're here now. I mean, obviously it's a funny time to start a new class. The class doesn't start now. You're starting now to make some of those business connections, and the classes will start this fall with new semester, brand new
classes
program.
will start this fall, and we're going to just continue to reach out to those businesses who have already committed and hopefully get some new businesses or sole entrepreneurs to contribute to offering their expertise and their insight to the students throughout the school year.
Right. Great.
And I think a really unique part of the program as well is about halfway through the year, so December-ish, the students will work together as a team and they'll come up with a group project, and it will, or I should say group business, and they will, whatever their business is that they decide, with the money they make off of that business then will be dispersed amongst the students, and then they will, the remainder of the year, make a business plan, meet with different individuals, and come up with their own real true running business, because at the finale of the class they have a program or a
trade show.
Trade show, they do a trade show.
Trade show.
Yep, where they really can sell their product or whatever it is. So it's a little different than it's kind of a science fair feel, I would say, but it's different in the fact that it's a real business that they are running. And many students in other programs have taken off with their businesses from that trade show.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Not monopoly money. It's real money that
Real
the
money, real
students
things.
get to invest or get investors for, and then of course earn from their hard work and their diligence in creating their product or their service, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's very exciting to see all the creative things that students come up with in other programs, and I have no doubt that our students will have even better ideas.
So I think you raise a good question, kind of leads to my next question. So you talk about they're spending real money and they're creating programs and they're doing all this. So how do we fund that? Beth, can you talk a little bit how we fund that?
Right. This program is unique because it's completely funded by outside investors. So the CEO board, which consists of school people as well as business people, so it's a unique combination of individuals. We worked starting about this time last year. So for a good year, we've been working on gathering investors or businesses, people that are willing to invest in our program. And they invest a significant amount of money, and they are willing to do it. They sign up for 3 years, and they're going to invest in the program for 3 years. That money then is what runs the program. And we also have people that maybe aren't willing to be a full investor. They can be what's like a friend of CEO. There's different levels per se. So we're able then to use those funds then to actually run the program. So it's just very different than what a traditional school class would be, because it's funded by outside investors. And then our investors also, a part of the program is every student is paired with a mentor, and then they mentor them throughout the year. So there's lots of different roles within the investment area, so
Sure.
lots
And really
of
about making
opportunities.
connections for kids.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah. And we really try for the mentors to, if a student, for example, is interested in maybe photography, try to get them a mentor, maybe that's a photographer, or whatever it is. So we can pair them up with someone that's something that they're interested in.
Right. So I think that's where Shanda fits into all this. So Shanda, you're the CEO Facilitator.
Yes.
So what exactly is your role with CEO? Maybe Beth, you want to talk a little bit about that too, and how does that work? Because you're not a teacher.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
you're
a
teaching this
teacher,
class,
But
so
I'm not a teacher.
Right.
I'm wrangling all the students. No.
Right.
So really, what my job is at the brass tacks, bare bones, is that I'm helping these students make those connections by the people that I'm bringing in as our guest speakers, the people who are offering to tour their facilities, by people who are offering to be mentors, and I'm ensuring that those students are able to make those connections and start to really broaden their horizons, broaden their reach, and learn what it means to start to kind of stand on their own 2 feet. Because the other part about this class that makes it non-traditional is that it's very heavily focused on helping those students to be very independent. You know, they're not provided a lot of this is what you need to do, this is what you have to do, but rather here are your options, explore what you are capable of. And so I'm really just trying to help nudge them gently in the direction that they want to go, and then help them to access resources or network in order to make those dreams a reality, really is what it ends up being. And then, of course, be a sounding board. As any new business owner can attest to, it can be a struggle at first, and it might be a little disheartening and discouraging. And so helping the students navigate those tough processes and helping them to identify things maybe that they hadn't thought of. You know, there's a lot of things, especially as a young person starting a business, that you maybe haven't thought of already. And so it's my job to make sure that they have the tools and have thought of all the things that they need to think about in order to be successful.
Absolutely, because like you mentioned, they're going to start an actual business. It's not going to be like Shanda gives them okay, now you're going to start a photography business and you're going to make homemade soaps or something like that.
Exactly.
It's wherever their desires lead. So
Exactly.
what an exciting project for kids.
Yeah.
So how do we select which students get into the class? Maybe Beth, you want to talk
Sure.
about that with the selection process, because students have already been selected for
They
this,
have
correct?
been, yep. So students need to apply to be in the program. They have to complete the application, plus they have to get different, I believe it's 3 references that they have to get, as well as our school counselors serve as an automatic reference for them as well. And what the references are really basing their feedback on is the character of the student. So I think a unique thing about the CEO program too is we're not looking for a specific student that fits in a box. It could be any type of student. There isn't any requirement. There's not a GPA requirement. There's not a requirement for what classes they've taken. The only requirement is they have to be a junior or senior. And so then they fill out the application, their references fill it out. Then there was a selection committee put together, and the selection, it's a blind process. So they do not see the students' names. They just see how they were ranked from their references, as well as how they answered the questions on the application, and they selected the students from there. So it's, you know, and then once they've selected them, then they look at the number. Okay, this student is number 1, this student is whatever. So it's unique in that way as well, that all students are on level playing ground when they go to look at those applications.
Yeah, nice way to do that. And then you really do get that nice mix of kids,
You
so
do,
it's not
yeah.
all the top quarter of the class
Yep.
or something. You get kids and all sorts of different interests
Yes.
involved. So
Yep.
good.
Yep.
I know you guys have planned a like a kickoff event for this program. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like?
Sure, yep. So we have a kickoff event planned for next Monday evening, Monday, May 23rd, where we have invited our investors to join us, and we now are over 50 investors. So it's really exciting. Our investors just kind of keep coming in. So we're over 50 investors. We're inviting our investors as well as our students and their parents to come to our kickoff event. The investors and the students will be able to mingle and get to know each other a little bit, as well as we have the CEO Facilitator from the Southwest Minnesota CEO program, which is in the Laverne Pipestone area. She will be joining us, as well as a couple of the students in the program. So they'll be able just to share some insight into things they've learned and just kind of help us get our year or our program kicked off. So it'll be an exciting event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. We should mention just a minute too. You talked about other schools in the area, so we have one primary partner in this. A couple of districts kind of came together and said we're interested in this. This isn't something that Beth dreamed up or something. It's an
Right.
actual program that we're participating in. So
Yeah.
maybe you guys want to talk a little bit about how that works and the other districts that are part of it.
Sure. So Midland Institute is kind of the company that oversees all of the CEO programs in the state of Minnesota, or I should say in the United States. And then, so our program is the Lyon Murray County CEO program. So it'll be us as well as Murray County Central. We have 3 students from Murray County Central, as well as Tracy area schools. We have 1 student from that, and then 18 students from Marshall Public Schools.
Great.
So that makes up our inaugural class.
Yeah. So it's about making those connections, not just within Marshall, but within our region, and
Within
making this
our region.
opportunity for
Yes.
kids
Yep.
beyond just Marshall with that. So
Yes.
yeah, well, that's great. So you mentioned they're going to visit businesses and be on site at businesses. Do you have some businesses in mind, or how does that work? Can you talk a little bit about what that might look like? Either one of you.
Certainly. Well, you know, of course, all of our investors who have been so gracious as to provide funding for this course, we will be visiting them. But given that the class is all year and it's 5 days a week, we're visiting everyone we possibly can. Anyone who, even if they don't have maybe the space to host such a large class, we do have some larger businesses who have offered to be what are called host sites. And so they would essentially hold our class for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month. And then smaller businesses can come in and, do some guest speaking engagements at another company's facility where we would have the space. So we will be visiting any business who is willing to have us during our class period in all of Lyon and Murray County. So to add to what you were saying, it's not just Marshall. We're going to be visiting Tracy and Slayton and Ballatin and Russell and lots of different places, which is going to be a really cool experience because there are so many hidden gems within our region that people maybe aren't aware of. Just because they've never maybe needed that service or they've never been to that town. I don't know.
Right.
So it's an exciting opportunity to really learn what our little corner of Southwest Minnesota has to offer in terms of businesses and employment opportunities. The hope, of course, is that will encourage students to want to come back to the area or stay in the area and make Southwest Minnesota their home.
Absolutely. That's really where this project started for us. We were thinking about expanding CTE offerings and thinking about growing your own. And we know there's a worker shortage in everybody you talk to. It's hard to get applicants. Maybe struggle at the school, but I know it's not just a school district. And as when our job is to educate, how do we make sure we find that education for students so they're prepared for workforce and even know what opportunities exist? Because we know there's a lot of opportunities. I think you said it well. There's all these gems in our area that our kids don't necessarily even know exist. You think about the school, you think about teacher, but we hire so much more than just teachers, and that's true for every field and every business. So how do we make sure those connections? So I just think this is going to be a great opportunity for kids and see it doing nothing but growing and expanding. So
That's the hope.
Great. So you talked a little bit about mentors. So every kid is assigned a mentor. Can one of you talk a little bit about why is that such an important piece of this, and how does that help this program?
Sure. Well, going back to, my job as the facilitator is to help those students make those connections. It's not to impart any significant wisdom or teach them things in like a traditional classroom. And that's really where the mentor comes in, because they're the experts in their field. They're the experts on being CEOs or being investors, or being business owners or leaders. And so they're really the experts that are going to be able to really help these students learn what that means. And if they have a close relationship to a student who is interested in their type of business, they're going to be even more valuable to that student as they explain what that business all entails.
Good.
So they'll have opportunities to meet with their mentor throughout the school year, throughout the class. So they'll develop a close relationship with them.
Yeah, very.
And they leave with that partnership already created.
Exactly.
So another great opportunity for kids as they go to school and they know I have a contact when I want to come back.
Right.
Which would be great. Good. So students are enrolled in this. This is a class, and they're taking, so they earn credit for this program. How does that part work? Because it is part, even though there's all these other connections, but it is still part of the school. Let's ground it back there. So how does that work?
Yeah. Yep. So the students, since it's an entire year for a block of time for an hour and a half, the entire school year, they will receive 2 credits to go towards graduation credits. So yes.
Great.
So it's exciting because it's taking the kids outside the 4 walls of the school, just something really we've never done. I mean, we go outside the 4 walls, but yet to do it every single day. And we told the kids just when we met with them earlier today that you probably won't ever be on campus for this class. It's just totally different than what we've ever done. You will be somewhere in the community or somewhere in our area. So it's very exciting. It's an exciting time for our students.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thinking about that, are there other area schools that are doing it? I mean, we mentioned some districts are part of this, but we're not the only CEO program in the area. Talk a little bit about others.
No. Well, yeah, like Beth mentioned, it's a national program, but in Minnesota, the Southwest CEO program, Pipestone, Laverne, Adrian, Fulda area, and then there are also a West Central program, which is a little bit north of us, and YME kind of area, and then a few others who are in our region who are also in the initial steps of starting their programs. So I would anticipate that we would probably see another 2 to 3 CEO programs pop up just in Southwest Minnesota.
Sure.
And then as it extends throughout the metro and stuff. The program actually started in Illinois, so
Sure.
it's kind of worked its way from Illinois and kind of ballooned out that way.
As people see the success in it, so
Absolutely.
new to us, but not new program necessarily in general. So just
Yes.
making those connections here. Great. Last question for you guys: what is one thing we haven't talked about that our community should know about the CEO program?
I think
This wasn't on our list of pre-approved questions. So.
It's not. One thing that might be interesting for people to know is that students are required to dress in business attire every single day.
Which is a change for high school
So
kids.
that is a fun change for high school students who I met with today, and they were all looking so comfortable in their sweatpants. And that's not the option. You know, we want them to look the part as much as we want them to be the part and become those CEOs one day. And so that'll be a fun thing to see as these students start to kind of develop their own personal CEO persona. So I think that's going to be really cool. They're going to see these kids out and about in the community. They're going to be securing their own capital for their businesses. So they might see them out and about kind of working to find investors too. So we're hoping that, this class isn't contained to the classroom. It's really, these students are really going to be getting out there and seeing people in the community. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, great.
And I was going to say, too, if anyone is interested, in learning more about the program or potentially becoming an investor or a mentor, anything in the CEO umbrella, please reach out. And we're always looking for more businesses.
They reach out, call you or call Shanda or
Either one.
Either one.
Either one of us, yeah. You can reach out and give us a
Go to
call.
our website.
Or go to our website, right, to learn more information. The program's continuing just to grow and blossom, and it's an exciting time. And then I do want to give a shout out to the Marshall Leadership Academy. One of the groups, their project was to help us with contacting the businesses to set up or with mentors and business meetings. So they kind of handed it over to Shanda. So saved her
Yes.
a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Starting her position. So thank you, those people that were on that committee, for your help.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you being here and sharing about this program. I am very excited about this as well. I think this is going to be great for our community and for our kids, and that's what we're here for. That's what school does, is we create opportunities for kids. That's what's best, and I think this is just awesome. I look forward to a year from now. We're going to invite you back. We're going to talk about that whole first year went and
Great.
How we're expanding for the next year. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for joining us and listening into Tiger Talk this week.